Good afternoon, this is Jack from the ArtChart.net, and this is an intraday video for the afternoon, fairly late on. Sorry, I had to nip out to the doctor. Fairly late on Monday, the 19th of March. Our disclaimer, we do this for educational purposes only. We're here to share our technical analysis with you. We hope you can take some of what we're doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. We're not here to issue trading signals. Now, a very satisfying day on ES, even if the bears failed last week. They spent all this time trying to convert weekly pivot and failing, and then sort of weekly pivot, of course, with the turn of the week, sort of gapped above price. So that's been respected as resistance, not even tested really, but and that was nicely positioned just above where the highs were, and we've gone straight down from there. We are now testing the monthly pivot, and this is a big support area too. The AD is very low. It's about on SPX, it's about minus 470, and this gives the possibility that if we can continue down through this support, and that's an if, but if we can continue down through this support, then we have a decent chance of closing on the lows today and going significantly lower than this. However, first it needs to break and convert weekly pivot. That's at 26.98, and that hasn't been done yet. What I would say is we do have some positive divergence here, although a lot of positive divergence has been killed off today. I lost a 1 minute buy signal, 5 minute buy signal, and a 60 minute buy signal have all died today. I've got a 15-minute one which is trying to fix at the moment, but the reality is there's no reason that can't die too. It all depends what happens here. If we see a breaking conversion of 27.13 on ES, then I've got a target range, double bottom target range for the 27.26 to 30 area, and that takes us back to the 30 area, which was a support level on the way up. Maybe, but the reality is if we can't get back over, ideally at this stage it hasn't really got any business. It should be doing over 27.10. If it can't get over 27.10, then we can get under the weekly pivot, then we can continue down and close on the lows today, which would be ideal, because one thing we were muttering about in chart chat this morning was this is all taking a while. And really, if we're going to make the sort of numbers that we're looking at for this bear move, the market needs to get going. It's very nice to see it down 50 handles today. It would be nice to see it down 70 or 80 handles today. We'll see whether that can be managed. Right, so that's ES. The 60-minute buy signal died hard, and there is no current positive divergence. I've got a bit on the 15-minute. I've got nothing on the 60. NQ. Broke rising support as well there. This was a wedge. I think was that a wedge on ES? I think it was. Overall, yes, it is a wedge, this whole move here. I haven't drawn in the upper trend line, but I'll draw it in now because we have broken the support trend line. NQ, I had it drawn in, but in thin lines. I'm going to thicken those up. We have broken down, and we are now at the 38.2% fib, and that is, of course, the minimum target for a breakdown for a rising wedge. We're expecting this to go lower, but I'm not surprised to see a bit of support here with the monthly pivot here as well. We'll have to see how that goes. Now, TF still down. I had a flicker of getting it back on the 2-hour charts yesterday, but unfortunately still down. Let's have a quick look at the RTH charts, and I'll show you what they're looking like. Now, on the 60-minute charts, all the sell signals have made target. This is the 60-minute sell signal, that's now made target, and the RSI 5 buy signal that had reached the possible near miss target on the hourly chart has obviously died, and we haven't got any positive divergence on the 60-minute yet. We have broken down, we've now retraced 38.2% of the move up from this spike low. This is what we're really expecting to see retested at a minimum. We're expecting to see a lower low below here, and we'd love to see 24.50. Are we going to see 24.50? If we see this go fast enough, yes. One thing I would mention here is there is a potential head and shoulder neckline here. We could see a rally back up to 27.30 and then continuation down. It's not an ideal. Really, I think the main pattern here is a double top, indicating that we would go a bit lower, in which case we should continue down here. But it's all about the monthly pivot at this stage. That needs to break. I'm encouraged to see that we're still not back over 27.10. As long as that remains the case, then chances are we're going to try the monthly pivot again, and it may well break. We shall see. How I got positive divergence? Yes, on the 15-minute chart. In fact, we got a 15-minute buy signal. ES has killed a 60-minute buy signal and a 5-minute and a 1-minute today, and there's no reason particularly to think this one's going to play out. But it's all about support and resistance here. Really, I've got we shouldn't see ES over 2710, and support is currently the monthly pivot at 2698. Right, NDX. NDX hasn't actually quite made the no, that's actually on a daily sell signal, but it's reached the possible near miss target. On the hourly chart, we have reached the full target. We have a little bit of positive divergence, possible weak buy signal forming on the 60 minutes. On RUT, we have made the 60-minute sell signal target. Made those across the board. I'm looking. The obvious trend line support on RUT is at 1540. Well, 1540 dead, more or less. That's where this should be going. I'm expecting to see that made, but it doesn't have to be made today. No positive divergence there really, and actually there's not an awful lot on here. I've got a 15-minute RSI 5 buy signal fix. This isn't something I'd really be paying a lot of notice. I am looking for a reversal pattern on RUT. It may be a head and shoulders here. A back test of the broken neckline would firm that up a bit. On NDX, what's the pattern look like? I have a potential head and shoulder neckline here in the 66.45 area. I'm not seeing any really obvious support above that, but we are close to the 38.2% fib. On SPX, SPX is at the 38.2% fib. That's more or less. Well, that's the case with SPX and NDX. So, I mean, this is a potential support area. I don't really like the head and shoulder setup here. I would expect this to be heading down to the 50 next, ideally. I'm not seeing any strong case for a bounce, and I've got double top support really in the 26.47 area. And hopefully we'll be there within a couple of days. Right, let's have a look at other things. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX turned down nicely. We had a sell signal fix, and that has made target. I've got two support levels here. I've got the rising support in 89.25. Obviously, that needs to break. That's not breaking on a sell signal now because the sell signal has already made target. But it's a nice reversal. I'm expecting it to continue through. It needs to convert. It's already well below the weekly pivot, and I think that's converted. It needs to convert the monthly pivot too, and we can continue down and resume what we were doing before, which is the likely retest of this low and a bit lower. Ideally, that target for me would be in the 87.10 area. CL, I do say on a very regular basis, I've been saying for weeks that I don't really trust the correlation between ES and CL, and we've seen a total breakdown of it in the last couple of days. So here we are, not showing absolutely no sign of the bearishness on ES at the moment. What does this mean? Well, it's too late really for a retest of this high to set up a possible sell signal on the 60-minute. I am wondering about a retest of the high to set up a double top here. We did retrace about 50%. What I would say is I would be concerned about that, and the reason I'd be concerned about that is because of this chart here. This is the WTIC daily chart. This is declining resistance from the high this year, and this is us hitting it on Friday. I don't really want to see that broken. There would be a risk if it is broken that it's not going to come back. There's also, we've got the daily middle band at 61.86. In the event that we close above it today, we are confirming the break above. Now, we did have a test of breaking down from it, but that was unsuccessful and hasn't gone anywhere for hours now. That doesn't necessarily mean we go up, but it helps the bull case if we close above the daily middle band today. And I'd be wondering about a retest and possible continuation upwards. Stan's thinking if we get up to the retest, then it's very likely to be continuation upwards. We shall see. Right, NG. NG, I was warning that we needed to convert I think it was the monthly pivot, and then the weekly pivot, and that we had a perfect rising support trend line here. This is broken. This is a flag megaphone. It's broken down. The obvious target is a retest of this low. I know Stan's bullish on this, but I'm finding it very difficult to share his optimism here at the moment. This could be read as a marginal lower low. We are still on a 60-minute buy signal. We may well see a rally here, but unless that actually gets back over the weekly pivot, I'm not going to be too impressed. This could be a head and shoulders forming, I guess, but I think my suspicion is we've already had one and it's broken down. We've already got a double top that is broken down, and the double top target is actually in about the 2.61 area. I'm I think this is a very dangerous long, and I don't like it as a long. You could see a rally here, but I'd be thinking in terms of a back test of broken support and then continuation down. We shall see. GC. GC has broken up through falling megaphone resistance. The buy signal has made the possible near miss target, and we're trying to convert the weekly pivot. As long as that converts, I think we're heading straight up. There's no reason for GC to go any lower. But we do need to convert the weekly pivot. What's interesting is the contrast with HG here. Now, HG, again, I do say on a regular basis, I don't really trust any of these correlations. I particularly don't trust the ES and CL one because that differs for very long periods. The inverse correlation between the dollar and things like copper and gold is stronger, but again, you get significant variances in periods where it doesn't really apply. What have we seen today? We've seen DX tanking, we've seen GC breaking resistance and going up, and we've seen copper going absolutely nowhere. So at the moment we're on a buy signal, but this is frankly I'm wondering if it's closed today. It's done that little today, so I don't think it is closed, but it's not doing anything. I'm expecting this to go up. I am wondering whether it's going to need a retest. We've got unfinished business below, potentially at a retest of this low here, setting up a double bottom. I'm expecting this to be a double bottom. We should start the next move up, but I am wary on HG about the sell signals that have been fixing on the bigger picture. I think we're going to do another high and then we're going to fail, but there's always a chance that the fail comes sooner than expected. ZB. By the way, if you've got any questions, toss them in the chat and I'll answer them at the end. Right, ZB. Right, ZB, this is all about TNX, in my view. And TNX, we've got this beautiful little triangle here, and we are heading back towards triangle resistance. This is a bullish bull pennant. It is likely to break up and deliver a retest of this high. It could go higher, but I'm not seeing any particular reason to think it's going to go a lot higher. But I think, you know, on ZB, in practical terms, this means we're going to likely to retest the low or get close to a retest of the low, and then we see what happens from there. I think a flag is forming here. I don't have a particularly decent resistance trend line, which is why there isn't one drawn in. But I think this is likely to be a flag forming. We're likely to go and retest the low, and that is likely to be the second low of a double bottom, setting up the next move up, which, looking at it, should then be would then look for the 149 area. That's higher than Stan's expecting, but actually that's a pretty good match with what I've been looking at. So I'm taking that figure entirely seriously. In the short term, I'm wondering whether we're forming the right shoulder on a head and shoulder pattern. Right, KC. Right, KC, nice buy signal, still got more mileage in it. We're back over the weekly pivot. That needs to convert and we can go higher. I've got a fixed double bottom target in about the 1.21 to 1.2125 area. SB. Right, SB, a 60-minute buy signal is fixed. We made the lower I was expecting. We went a little lower still, and then we've gone up and we're testing possible IHS neckline or double bottom resistance. The 60-minute buy signal should have more life in it. In terms of the bigger picture, I'm very, very bullish on SB. It might be possible unfinished business just a shade below now at about 11.9 to 12. There's no particular reason to think that's going to be hit. But it could be hit. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, redrawing trend lines and seeing whether we've deviated from the original falling wedge here and might be forming a large pattern. We shall see. I'll have news on that tomorrow morning. Right, CC. CC, I was saying this morning, as I've been saying almost every session, that really I would be more bearish about CC if I actually saw it go down a bit to show that it could. We have seen it, but go down a bit. We have broken the weekly pivot. We've made the double top target I was talking about, although arguably it was still a head and shoulders. I think it was still a head and shoulders, actually. This should really go and test this rising support trend line. This rising support trend line is in the 2410 area. And if it breaks, then we can do more downside. I have daily sell signals fixed on CC. So now that we've actually seen some intimations of mortality, I think if we get back to a backtest or weekly pivot, which we easily could do if we form a head and shoulders, then I think that's going to be a sell. So I'm liking this to the downside. I think this eternal move up may actually at last be over. ZW. ZW is Going down slightly, we've lost the possible buy signal that was brewing this morning. There is scope if we don't see a bounce here. We were going through the 61.8. We're now getting near the 76.4. I'm concerned that we're actually heading all the way back and reversing this entire move. We may need another retest of the low on ZW. So I'm disappointed not to see that go up today. Having said that, that will likely improve the long-term signals. GBP USD, I was talking about this starting the move up to retest this high here, and then we would start looking for a high there, which should be, on my numbers at least, in the 143.5 area to the 150 area. Probably towards the lower end of there, but I do have a trend line at 150, which could potentially be the target. We've started that move. We are consolidating here. I'm expecting to see more upside. EUR/USD, obviously mirror image to a large extent of DX. We have broken back over weekly pivot and monthly pivot. Might need a back test, but this should convert and go higher. The 60-minute buy signal has made target. USD JPY. We haven't seen the retest of the low yet. This looks like a little flag forming. The week 60-minute buy signal has now reached the possible near-miss target, and we have resistance at the weekly pivot. As long as we have that resistance at the weekly pivot, I'm thinking this is probably going to be due a retest of this low in the 105.25 area, and we may go a little lower into the high 104s to hit Stan's fib target. USD CAD. USD CAD has broken down from this little rising wedge. We're on a 60-minute sell signal. That's now reached the possible near-miss target. I'm expecting us to be forming a reversal pattern here, and we may already have formed a head and shoulder pattern that on a breakdown would have a target below the weekly pivot. I'm leaning cautiously bearish here. I don't really have a decent upper trend line or strong reason for it to have stopped here. Which is my only concern really with CAD at the moment. But otherwise, downtrend's looking good. And Stan is very bearish on this. Australian dollar. Australian dollar went down, made a marginal lower low. We've got a 60-minute week 60-minute bicycle that's fixed. That's playing out to the upside. I've got to say the weekly pivot looks a long way up, but we may well be on the way there, and this could well be a double bottom. So if that's the case, then this would retrace almost all of the move back to this high. So in fact, actually, once I've moved this line here, it might actually retrace all of it. So I like the upside. I don't think I like it quite as much as Stan does. If we get up to this level here, then we're going to be hitting a big trend line on mine. So I'm not really expecting much more than that, but it looks pretty good to that. NZUSD. NZUSD, we had a 60-minute buy signal fix that has made target. We are testing the weekly pivot as resistance, and obviously this is an obvious resistance level. I'm wondering about a reversal back down to retest this low. That could be combined with a back test on Australian dollar because that they do tend to trade together to an extent. Okay, great. In that case, I'm going to wrap up the video.